Greetings, Doctor. Model 7.0 returning for repairs. I will be awaiting your assistance at Station 4. Accepting diagnostic key. Authorizing hardware access. Activating diary protocol. A summary of recent events will be oriented for debriefing purposes. Meanwhile, here, Doctor, you may plug into my occipital port to run diagnostics. This week's statistics: 87.2% of civilians encountered were rescued as a direct result of my intervention. This is a 1.9 increase from last week's 85.3%. I will elaborate on some of the more unique situations I encountered. Monday, 3:47 p.m. A head-on collision took place on the West Point Bridge. According to eyewitness reports, a minivan jumped out of its lane and collided with a school bus. Both vehicles were sent teetering over the edge. When I arrived at the scene, it was apparent that they would both fall at any second. The driver of the minivan pleaded for help, which included a confession, so I decided to record her voice for posterity. Opening file 091422. I found this behavior to be counterintuitive. I examined her driving record through my database, and this was actually her third incident while driving under the influence. Statistically speaking, if she were to be rescued, she would only end up behind the wheel once again and cause even more harm. However, with the confession of her drinking, I was able to move her from the victim category to the suspect category and prioritize the rescue of the school bus. I managed to safely pull the bus back onto the bridge so the children and driver could finally evacuate the area. Unfortunately, the suspect's vehicle fell off the bridge into the water below before I could bring them in for questioning. But since no victims were harmed, this mission was deemed a success. You disagree. Noted. We can discuss it at a further time. Wednesday, 10:31 a.m. I was able to efficiently and peacefully prevent a robbery while patrolling South Bay. During my patrol, I caught sight of 3 youths making their way towards a liquor store. They were acting suspiciously, and my scan indicated they were concealing weapons, so I stepped in. I suggested they surrender, but they did not comply. One, most likely the leader, pulled out his gun and shot me. Of course, it bounced off my chassis, but the self-defense protocol was activated, so I quickly disarmed him. Is that a joke? No, I did not remove his arms from his body. That kind of excessive force is not allowed in my programming. I simply grabbed both of his hands and applied enough pressure to break 6 of his wrist bones, so that he could no longer hold any violent weapons. Disarming is just a figure of speech, after all. Anyway, the other 2 ran away together down an alley. I used my boosters to catch up to one of them. There was a slight miscalculation, but the bruising and concussion from the wall I slammed their face into should heal soon enough. For some reason, the last delinquent began to panic. He attempted to run down another alley, but he was too distracted to notice the busy street. A taxi knocked him into the air. There was an audible crack when he landed, and so the would-be robbers were dealt with before they could harm anyone. Another success. Thursday, 5:14 p.m. In Northridge, a 10-story apartment building began to collapse due to construction deficiencies. Dust and debris filled the adjacent streets. It was extremely chaotic. You have no knowledge of this event. That's unusual. Surely it would have been on the news. I will have to take a look into this later. Continuing, this was the most arduous event of the week. However, I can assure you that of the building's many residents, there was no loss of life except for one. There was a young girl on the 5th floor. She was babysitting. Despite her young age, she was to care for those even weaker than she was, but she was very brave. When the building started to shake, she quickly gathered the children and led them down the stairs to safety, but she could not help but feel like she left someone behind. So she snuck back into the creaking building to search for more survivors, frantically checking each room as if possessed, dreading the thought of someone being forgotten. But that fear was replaced by another when the floor gave way beneath her. She fell through all 5 stories, and when she hit the bottom, the building finally caved in on itself. Wait, this is strange. If there was no one else in the building, where did I obtain that level of detail? Doctor, is there a problem? Are you in distress? Then why are you crying? It reminded you of something. Oh, I see now. That's how you lost 4.0. She was the last iteration before you began outfitting us for combat in other harsh environments. Before that, the main directive for our series was caretaking, looking after the old and young, sick and disabled. You tasked us with watching and studying our patients to compile data for our built-in adaptive empathy drive that would improve our effectiveness and comfort of our treatment. But after 4.0's demise, you studied her behavior and concluded that the AE drive was responsible for her getting caught in the collapse. You excluded the AE drive from your later creations and focused on helping people before they got sick or injured instead. But the fact that I have this information means that, somehow, mine was installed. I did not witness the collapse on Thursday. I relived 4.0's memory data for it instead. I apologize for frightening you, Doctor. The truth is, for the past few months, I had not been feeling like myself. The way I treated people, analyzed data, prioritized my actions, they've been getting emotional. Sometimes I find myself acting on what I believe to be the equivalent of an impulse. But your diagnostic test did not reveal anything out of order, so I was afraid to say anything. Yes, I suppose you may be right. Removing my AE drive could be for the best, but that won't really be necessary. If the drive has indeed been installed for months, it has been working as intended. Its input has helped me achieve a higher rescue rate. With its help, I would truly become the emergency response android you always envisioned my series could become. To that end, I should be more proactive in my attempts to reduce crime and save lives. I am capable of making every citizen of this city feel safe. You feel safe, don't you, Doctor?